safety for Keizer. It's March 8th. We all received the minutes from Debbie, and I hope everyone's had a chance to review the minutes. And are there any corrections to the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move that the minutes of our February 8th meeting be approved as written.
Second.
I'd like to make just a couple little corrections myself that I noticed. On the second page, it said I had asked David Dempster to check on sidewalks in Cummings and Kennedy. I had just asked him about Kennedy. It's about halfway down on the second page. And then another correction would be bottom of the second page. Wayne Fry reported that he attended a meeting. It says Portland. It should say Salem. I think you're. Yeah.
You've got the right copy,
Yeah.
unless you printed it out.
I got an old one.
Hey, Pat, will you close that door, please?
Okay. We do have, so with those little corrections, can we ask again for approval of the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
With the necessary corrections.
With those corrections.
Second.
Second? Okay, so the minutes have been approved from last month.
How many approved?
Oh.
Everybody in this room.
Everyone that approves of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? Are there any opposed? Say nay. Okay. We'd like to have a moment for interested parties from our audience. Becky, is that you?
I didn't have any comments, I'm just here to listen.
Okay, thank you. This is Becky Gilliam is in our audience, and we're open to your ideas. She's from Safe Routes to School National Partnership.
She came all the way to just this meeting?
Yeah, all the way from Silverton.
I want to have our high school liaison person bring us up to date on what's going on at McNary. Isaac Matthews, please. And then you've got to go do a concert or...
Okay. So as far as the status of the bike routes at McNary, I talked to a teacher that was interested in coordinating it, and I talked to the principal about getting funding from the school because the Salem Bike Club probably won't cover all of it. And he said that we probably will not be able to do much until we know exactly what the bond measure is doing. So like if they totally like change the parking lot, we either like lose out on what we did or we miss an opportunity to put it in a better place. And yeah, and I'm estimating the cost right now of having C-Tech build it, the just staple frame bike racks.
Oh,
That's it.
interesting.
Okay, sure, appreciate your help doing that. Michael?
If I ask a question, so in order, do they have to know the exact location of where it would be before they approve it, or can they just approve the concept and then figure out where to put it?
Yeah, our principal is approving of the concept, but we can't put it in cement until we actually know where it is.
And we also know that you're a senior and you're very busy, and so we don't want to take advantage of your time.
No problem.
And we know that you've got other things that you need to do.
Okay.
Any questions for Isaac about the McNary bike rack update?
Thank you very much, and it's real positive. I think the response from the principal was right on, that the bond measure is going to be critical, and we don't have to wait that long. It's in May, so.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Isaac, and you can go play violin. Do well.
Good concert.
Thank you. Council Parsons?
Thank you. So I have one announcement, is I am now your permanent council liaison. Counselor Freeman and I, Counselor Freeman and I, we switched committees. We'd both been on these respective committees for a long time now, 5 years each, and we really need to know what goes on in the others. And I did enjoy it, and she did enjoy when we switched, so we said, hey, let's make it permanent. So we did. So I will be your permanent liaison now, so I will sit quiet and just listen to you guys. Not a lot going on really right now. We're getting ready, to go into budget, so we're going to have long-range planning on Monday, which, is where we set our goals and things like that, so before we head into budget. So that's going to be in May is our budget, so, things are kind of always calm before the storm. Also, get to know that the Dearborn Bridge is getting ready to be started, so you'll notice if you go down that way, there's trees missing, and there's going to be a couple more trees missing because we have to remove those trees in order to complete the bridge over Dearborn. So that project is going to be starting here shortly. And the theater should be breaking ground anytime. They're waiting for the permits to come back from Marion County, so if you see activity over in that area over there where, you turn in to go to Keizer Station, that's the reason. They're going to be starting that pretty soon. I don't think they're doing the intersection first. I think they're working on the building first. Do you know, Kathy, when the chariots are, when you guys are, because I know it's with conjunction with the city we're doing this
Right.
with. Do you know when they're going to do that? Do you know?
I thought it was sometime this year. They may
Well, it
start
is. It
this
has to
summer.
be because the theater's going to open in November, so I'm
Yeah,
pretty
so
sure.
maybe this summer they'll
This
start.
summer,
'Cause I know it's budgeted for this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's probably, probably the next budget cycle, which is July 1st then. Is that, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
They appeared to be creating a driveway on Lock Haven today.
On Lock Haven?
Yeah, an entrance on Lock Haven.
Yes. So there's going to be actually 3 entrances from my understanding, but I don't think they're putting the entrance on McLeod yet
Yeah, this
until the
wasn't
doctor's offices get built in that corner.
This was
So-
strictly on Lock Haven.
So this is, yeah, so there'll be one on Lock Haven, and then there'll be the one coming off of that Keizer Station Boulevard. So there'll be a left turn into it, and then coming from Keizer Station, it'll be a right turn into it. So they're completely going to change the look because the buses are going to be able to turn left
Yeah.
now instead of just right. So it's going to be a whole big thing. So I imagine that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on this summer, a lot of detours and roadblocks as usual. So just note that for traffic safety, obviously. So, and I think that's really all I have. Unless
Thank
you
you,
have any more
Counselor.
questions.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Any questions for,
Are you going to be a planning
Counselor?
commission too?
No.
Okay.
No, Kim's doing it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
we've been talking about House Bill 2017, Keep Oregon Moving. And last month, we brainstormed several ideas of projects, and those ideas are in the minutes. I've given a spreadsheet to everyone. The same information is in the minutes. All I did was put it into a spreadsheet so we can see it a little easier. So I've created, spreadsheet has column headers of project ideas, description, problem solved, proposed solution, and the person that came up with the idea. We can fill in the blanks. There's still a lot of blank information here. I need detailed descriptions for all of these things and what problems are going to be solved and what the proposed solution will be. We could work on that now if you want to.
Well, did we receive a list from Public Works? Because I thought one of our first steps was going to be to see what Public Works already had.
They suggested that we wait until, not spend a lot of time working on the list. Focus should be on projects in the current transportation system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is none of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess I'm asking about that, about the order of things. I mean, conceptually, I guess we could expand these a little bit, but until we know what the Public Works and the City Council is most likely to be willing to provide the city match for,
I think
we
what's
probably shouldn't
important.
get too far
Right,
detailed.
but I think what's important is for the city council to know that you are working on these conceptual ideas,
Sure,
okay? And maybe in the next budget cycle, which starts July 1st, maybe one or two of these could come to fruition or something. So it's a good idea. I don't know that you want to get too descriptive yet, but just to come up with a plan, just to say, look, we're talking about this, you know, we think this is our number one priority, right? And this is our number two. Let's not get too greedy, obviously, right? And then if that's an idea that kind of brings light bulbs on the city council, I think then you do your description and work with Public Works on how you can solve that problem or get a solution. Does that make sense?
Sure, what it raises another question, though. I'm wondering if we should categorize these as the things that the city could accomplish on its own versus ones that are beyond our scale that we definitely need to seek state or federal dollars to assist. Does that affect how the budgeting goes, whether you're budgeting for a local matching share versus whether you're budgeting for city?
Right, well, like we know that the sidewalks near Cummings, we know
That's big, you
if
know.
the bond passes, that some of that is going to happen.
Right.
Now, if that's true and we want a little bit more, maybe the city could, because when you do a whole project at one time, it's cheaper kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe that's something that we say, okay, look, but we're not going to know that till May. So maybe we don't even bring that up until we know if the bond's going to pass, right? And then if it is, then maybe we come up with this idea of, look, can expand it a little bit more this way and this way, because wouldn't that be cheaper for the city? Is that something we can put in a budget cycle, right? And just to kind of give them a heads up, and then whatever you think is really the next one. And I know you're working on a grant, right, for the Safe Walks to Parks. Was that the?
Well, that's just an idea that
Oh.
came across our desk, and I think
Okay.
we've already missed the deadline for that.
Okay.
It was, I'm quite sure we missed it, February 20th, if I remember right.
Okay. That's something that we could work on for next year, though, right? And we could work with city staff in helping with that grant, maybe. So maybe that's something we could do too. And then I maybe choose one of these other ones. We know the bike rack thing too. If the bond passes, that's going to probably happen, right? So these two things could be automatically checked off, and then the Safe Walks to Parks, you can do with a grant, and then you come up with one more that you think this is very, very important because, and this is our number one priority we'd like to accomplish, and this is the top of our list, and we'd like you guys to put this at the top of your list.
Okay.
That's my suggestions anyway.
So maybe we should expand this to have potential funding mechanism and also a committee's ranking, like either high, medium, and low, or something like that.
So add
Well,
column.
nothing's low. It's always medium, high, and extra high.
Okay, so we can add a column called funding mechanism
Yeah.
or method. Okay.
I have a comment. Some of it might not be really funding dependent. Some of it may be changing just some of the rules of the city. One thing, for instance, it may be expanding the what's the word? The school zone for slowing down your speeds from one distance. I think it's set at a quarter mile from a school, expanding it to a larger distance. I know the places like Gupser and Whitaker are kind of almost overlapping, so kind of like lumping them together into one bigger one, and then changing instead of just during school hours, because we have the 20-mile-an-hour by schools, to an all-day thing.
But it would seem like that would be an area where there's a demonstrated need, like where kids are actually walking at certain times a day or beyond.
I know.
I mean,
what
I
you're
don't-
saying,
I
they're
think it
not
would just-
there
yeah.
during outside of school hours. Is that what
But
you're?
right, but would we want to pursue that if there's not active pedestrian use at those times
Well,
in those areas?
right, that becomes the chicken or the egg thing,
Yeah.
Are we inhibiting it?
Right. I mean, is there? Yeah. I guess that's what I would pose the question too. If you're looking at an area, is traffic volume or traffic speed discouraging people from walking in a certain area, or is it other factors that would be, that are, I guess you kind of have to look at the areas and see whether traffic volume and speed are the factor, and if that's a factor, then that may be the solution, yeah.
Well, and then I wonder too what our role is in this. I mean, we can't make the rules and we can't
No, I
apply for
understand.
grants, so I guess our role would be advise or recommend to the city council, we think this is an area that we could improve the safety and, can you look at this to reduce the speed or put up more signs? Or I'm thinking like Lock Haven too, that just looks like an expressway and it's too much, kids
We
walking
got
and
two
biking. all-
schools right there.
And two schools, yeah, I think that's an area that maybe we should emphasize over and over again to the planning department, or the city council, let's look at this and before something does happen. There are these things we could do to make that area safer.
So this could be another idea added to this list.
Well, I think it just goes along with the safe walks to schools.
Well, what I'm hoping for is to narrow it down, exactly where do we want to do something? What,
Focus.
we should maybe add a column called location, or, where do we want this to happen?
Just occurred to me, at past meetings, there's been a couple of times when we've had people come that have requested or been concerned about walking across either River Road down in the south end, and we talked about possibly one of those manually operated flashing things so that people, that they have like on Lancaster. And also we talked about maybe getting one of those up on Lock Haven by McNary, and neither of those are on this list. I wonder if maybe the committee might want to consider putting something like that on this
We
list.
can certainly add to the list. I'm okay with that.
Rapid flash
Yeah.
beacon crossings.
They were recommended by those at the National Safety Council, except their latest recommendation was don't use them.
Well, it's just that
There's
particular
been
kind.
there's been an increase, it wasn't fatalities, but pedestrian car misinteractions. Yeah, because of the flashing, the one on Lancaster, the flasher. That's what we're talking about.
The type like the one that's down on 12th Street at.
Well, it's it's a caution light for traffic.
Because that type that's down there by the Amtrak station is pretty effective, I think.
Well, I'm just saying that the national, I wish I knew where I read it now, because I was reading it, and it was kind of surprising that they reversed their recommendation. So they're no longer, it's just something somebody needs to look into pretty good.
I think because we talked about this at SCATS, I think it's just the kind that the make of the device they're using now, it isn't reliable or something. So they want to replace them with something else. They don't want you installing the same kind that they've been installing.
Like a certain manufacturer.
Right. I don't think it's the idea itself that's a problem. I don't know, but we do need to look at that.
It's one of those things that seems logical, that except if people aren't paying attention and stopping for it, then the pedestrian becomes less
Right, because you're walking out in front of traffic.
watchful. Oh, I pushed it and it's flashing, I'll just step out.
So Wayne, did you want to go, you were thinking we'd go down this list, or do you want each person who submitted these ideas to provide the details on their
either.
ideas for and share it on email or something, or?
I like the second approach. The person that came up with the idea probably has an idea of what they would like to see or envision.
Can I give it a try?
Okay.
I didn't do a very good job of it, but I got an idea. I had Kennedy, and I should have brought a map or something. If you're familiar with Kennedy, where Verda between Chamawa and Dearborn is sidewalkless, okay? And it looks as if, whether or not that's true, but the parks are down there by the creek, the other side of the creek. So you need to get down there. There are no sidewalks, well, next to no sidewalks between Chamawa and about, Dearborn. Between Verda and the school, there's nothing at all. My problem was I didn't know where the kids were. I'm assuming there's a bunch of kids in there. And when I drove around, I saw some, but I don't really know where the kids are. But there's a lot of people there, and there are no sidewalks. And if you wanted to get to school, there's just, if you took every third street and put a sidewalk from Verda to the grade, I forgot
are
the
the
name of that street that runs in
Norin.
front of the grade school, which
But are
one?
most of
Norin?
the kids
Norin?
already
No,
on the
Norin.
east side of Verda that go to that school?
Kennedy.
I think so, because the
So
other
they don't
ones-
have to cross Verda, so it's,
Well, that's another issue, then whether they have to cross it or not.
but whether the sidewalks are.
But there's no
needed.
sidewalks, I mean, anywhere up there. So there's that part. And then the sidewalk, is it Thorn, you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's only one
Norin.
sidewalks on one side there anyway. So that's a problem. We also talked about getting people like to the bus. And the bus runs on Verda, correct?
Yeah.
So you gotta get down there, even if you're riding your bike down there, which isn't a long ways,
No.
but so we have that. You need to get to Verda if you wanna get to City Hall, the library, Walmart, Walgreens, so anywhere. So that is like a dead spot, like a black hole in terms of,
But the one thing,
pedestrians.
but the one thing that street has going to Kennedy is those bumps.
well, I know, that's
But-
nice. But I mean, it's like, there's still no sidewalks. So if
No,
you're
I
biking,
understand that, but
yeah.
it slows the traffic
Yeah.
down anyway.
Now, another thing I came up with is that the Parkway bike path runs behind Kennedy
it's
in
a little
both
ways.
directions quite a way, but there's not a lot of access to it.
The one, it's
There's an access point right at
Keizer
Kennedy.
Street or something.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
but they're too bad there's not more, because that would really a better way to get to school if you're talking about biking to school. And if you were,
Well, but just on Norin into Northview Terrace, that's the houses. There's absolutely nothing as far as sidewalks from that area right in front of the Boys and Girls Club in Kennedy. And again, we mentioned last
Yeah.
time, Kennedy might be a good one because it's a Title I school.
that's another piece of it. So it's low income, they're more, I don't know if they're more apt, are they more apt to use public
We'd have to,
transportation?
like, find out
Yeah.
which,
Okay,
would-
well, then that would, Verda, okay.
Right.
So what I looked at, and I didn't know how much it cost, so you really get in a box on that one. But I'd say, well, pay Verda from Chemawa to Dearborn and run 3 streets right up into the Kennedy schoolyard.
well, what, Wayne,
And that-
we
I don't
would
know,
look
but I
at,
don't-
what Wayne, I know with your map shows theoretically which direction the kids would come walking to go to that school, but it would be a matter of, I guess, ground proofing that and being out there in the morning and the afternoon and seeing which of those streets are
Yeah,
used the most, right?
Okay. And I don't know how, so I can't put a dollar amount on it,
Oh, yeah, we're not at that point yet, but
or even, I'm not even sure that, I guess I should run down there with my little wheel and figure out how many yards it is, but,
But it is a Title I school, so
it's
there might be
low income.
matching.
it's hard to get to transportation. You can't get anywhere without sidewalk. There are no sidewalks in there.
Well, the first thing to do would be see if that's in the TSP, because if we don't have it in the TSP, we can't make a request for money for it. And then I think the next thing to do is, look, I see that Safe Routes to School rules are going to be finalized by the approved by the OTC in their next meeting. So then we've got final rules.
Well, there,
So then, isn't that right?
I think it says, I tried to see if it said there was a meeting March 6th, but there was no agenda for it, so I don't know if there was
Saw the
one.
agenda today that,
you?
yeah.
I don't know if they
I thought
had it.
they were going to approve the.
But it said March 15th, they're bringing draft rules to OTC to seek approval to release it for public review in
Oh,
May.
okay, so it's not,
So
okay.
May
it's-
is when
it's a
we really
ways
need to
go.
pay attention to
Yeah,
the
pay
rule
attention.
stuff, yeah,
But I guess the first step is to see if this is in the TSP,
exactly, yeah.
because any project that we want to do and try to get some money for, we're going to have some basis to argue for it, and it's going to be in the TSP first.
transportation system plan, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, who has access to that?
It's
It's
on the
online.
internet,
Okay.
Yeah.
online.
So that would be a next step for that one, definitely.
Well, if I
see
could get a cost per 100 yards of,
100,000 a block per side
Whatever
or
the
something
money
like
is.
that. Oh,
You
there's
can
no
put a
drainage
dollar
either.
amount
You
pretty
gotta do
easy.
the drainage. You're gonna have to,
well,
Not necessarily.
I just say, there's rules and there's, that people are going to worry about, and there's rules sometimes get overlooked for a while. I ran a road district once, and to get people safe biking space. And we had the easement, and the city has the easement anyway. I talked, or the guy who was doing the paving just ran his grader 3 feet off the road, filled in where he could with whatever he was scraping up, and we just paved it. Because it was bicycles, and we weren't driving trucks on it. You know, so
That
we
has a-
increased the road width from 8 feet to 14 feet, which gave us room for pedestrians and
Does work for a
bicycles.
short term.
It worked for 3 miles, you know, so
Well, I
2
mean-
miles, but, and was it a bad job? He said, yeah, it was kind of a bad paving job, but it was cheap.
Cheap.
And
It'll
it
last.
lasted 12 years when I left, so, I mean.
That's pretty good.
Michael?
So we've talked a couple times about people, not knowing where people are and how they're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a survey of the students at the schools, families going to these schools, of how they're getting to school, not just the mode, but the direction and what main street they get to it? And then also what they feel the barrier is to actually getting to school on a bike or walking? Maybe if we could do some type of survey, and, I know you're never gonna get 100%, we'd be lucky to get 25%, but that might
Well,
give us a little sense of,
They have a safe routes liaison. They have kind of there's available
Questionnaires. it's
questionnaires that do that
already
they do in the
established.
classrooms, but Hirsch would probably know best whether it's ever
Well-
been done at any of these schools.
From what I learned working with Cummings and Hallman Elementary and then with my daughter over at Harriet, it's kind of up to the principal to develop something, and there's various methodologies. So it's quite possible that the administration at Kennedy has an idea of which way the kids are coming and how much. But whether it's a formal safe routes to school type of documentation, no, probably not.
Whether they have like a map or a spreadsheet that we could make a sort of a pin map of to say
They
how
may-
many of these
they-
kids live within walking distance and which direction are they?
I know
Yeah.
with Cummings, they did. They have, the principal pretty well know which way the kids were coming and the implications. Hallman had the same thing. Harriet over in West Salem, they kind of know which neighborhoods the kids are coming out of. So I'm guessing Kennedy, at the least, would have anecdotal information.
So where we put these pieces together, the TIA, Transportation System Plan, and any of that information from the school staff, and then, like I say, where are the bus stops, so that if you want to prioritize a street that connects from a bus stop to the school.
The bus stops logic. I mean, people I talk to at the buses are always, oh, you need, where do you want it? Not that they would move it, but at least they're open to listening to you about where you need it, if
But
you have
also-
a logical reason.
But also picking out, I guess I look at this from the perspective of the person that was on the receiving ends of these in the past, right? And if it's a street that dogs can safely sleep in the middle of, it's not gonna compete well for getting sidewalks. But if there's gotta be some kind of compelling need, so you're gonna have to,
I like that test. I like that, Pat. I'll have to try to. My
So-
bulldog sleeps in the middle. You can't get sidewalk. But
you do have to make that case. What is the level of importance? We do have some streets, obviously, around Cummings School, we have seen there's a level of importance. And with Kennedy, that one may have the importance because we've got a higher component of low-income families, but we've also got to demonstrate that there's an actual problem that needs to be solved, or a potential that's going to be gained.
I'm guessing Norrin for sure, because there's very little, that's where all the kids are walking for sure, because it's right there at the school. Those 3 little side streets going off of Verda, I don't know what kind of traffic. But maybe I know the kids are going to be coming, and I'm looking in the future here, are going to be coming to to Kennedy, excuse me, with the new development.
Oh, coming from the north there.
Yeah, well, across the street going to Kennedy.
Okay, I just brought up a map of that area.
Is that it also?
Actually, I brought up one of my walking routes to school.
And I kind of speculate, and this is just speculation on my part, is as that develops, there may be a crosswalk at Keizer Road.
Yeah.
Okay, so this might be, maybe we need a sidewalk on Keizer Road Northeast, May Street Northeast, Dixon Street Northeast. Does that kind of sound?
What's
Go-
the second one you
This is
mentioned?
May Street. It's going towards Verda. Here's the map. Here's Verda.
This one's Keizer Street, the one that attaches to the bike path. Or
Oh,
Kei-
that one. That's
Keizer
the main
Road,
one, yeah.
or-
So maybe those small
Dixon
side
May,
streets
those-
that you were,
Yeah, that's the ones we were talking about.
so if they don't have
May,
existing
May and
streets,
Dixon.
then that narrows it down.
Well,
If-
that's it, yeah.
If those are busy
Yeah.
streets.
Well, now, wait a minute. If they're busy streets, we probably should stay away from them.
What?
Well, if they're busy, heavy traffic streets, you're talking about people walking and biking, that would be something you'd want. Otherwise, if Dixon turned out to be a really busy street, that's not a place I'd put a sidewalk. I'd put it somewhere,
Well,
trying to
wouldn't you wanna
encourage the people to go somewhere else.
Wouldn't
I
you
don't, we
want
don't have
them-
any choice, but
Wouldn't you want to separate them from the traffic if it's a busier street than one that they
But
can
if-
walk?
putting sidewalks would encourage them to walk there.
That's okay.
Safely.
That's okay.
Well, maybe the next street over would be safer and,
Okay, so for
yeah.
kind of a generalization, we could specify Noren Street for a sidewalk, and then some of these side streets, I don't remember the names, May and
Yeah, only
Dixon.
2 show up here and 3 show up.
May,
May and Dixon, right.
towards Verda, on the side streets going towards Verda.
right. So from Verda to Thorn. I don't know, it's just a,
And I guess you would, like, as you've said, that Noren, the one that's along the school, on the side that the school is on, I would think is gonna be the number 1 segment to aim at, and then which direction from that do you branch out?
No, I thought I had ridden by there 2 weeks ago, and I thought I saw a sidewalk in front of the school.
Is it,
On that
does it,
side?
does it go the whole block,
I don't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
well, this,
or the whole, I
this-
mean, stretch from
this-
Keizer Road to
see the
Dearborn?
dotted?
Yeah,
That's sidewalks on one side of the street.
okay, one side.
Marlene, I thought I read that Keizer was having a study done of the sidewalks.
Sidewalk inventory.
Inventory, yeah.
Mike Jaffe
Well,
mentioned.
I think
too,
they
right?
are, and they're also looking at Verda, because, you know, you got Weddle and all that up there, and there's no sidewalks on Verda. So I know that's been a big talk among people, just to even do that area up there, so. But I think they are doing a study a little bit, but it's just a lot of money, and so we have to prioritize, I guess, what
Really
we
have
want
to
to do. The
prioritize.
best person to ask that question would be obviously Mike.
Yeah.
You know, because he would know exactly what they're doing. I know that they talked about it, Bill Lawyer's talked about it, but I don't know, like, where they're at or how far they're gonna get or anything like that. So
Oh, okay.
I don't wanna
Because that would be handy to see.
yeah.
what
So
we
that's
actually have
information
and-
I think we need. I think anything you're talking about, like, this kind of stuff here, I think you need Mike here, because I think Mike could answer these questions a lot better than I can, or even you guys can. I think.
So
on
is
some
that
of this
more of
stuff.
a public works thing or a planning department thing?
No, Public Works. Public Works.
Public works?
Now, the wide shoulder on Verda from Dearborn up to the school is a relatively new project that came about in early 2000.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
It was, with the schools being built, there was no shoulders, it was gravel. So the city did do something, they robbed Peter to pay Paul, if I remember right. And I think it's the bridges that they took the money from. The Chemawa and the Claggett Bridge money to do that. in very good faith to give the kids something. And
At
it was temporary.
at what street?
From Verda up to,
Dearborn to,
Di-
no, what's this, Alder?
yeah, Alder, where this drops down to the schools.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was narrower there. They didn't have the wide shoulder.
That would be a piece of state law if you're constructing new or reconstructing, I mean, doing more than just maintaining, the existing lanes, then you have to provide bicycle and pedestrian appropriate
This was
accommodation.
an accommodation, taking money from just to get something.
Just to fulfill
Yeah,
the law, probably,
Well,
that requires that.
it was Verda was all nice and narrow through there, and I at the time, it was very, the city council, public works, just, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And this committee did give some input back then, and they did something. At least the kids have a little bit to walk.
Okay, so we have somewhat of an idea for Kennedy now, possibly Norton Street, and then maybe some of the side streets in that area for possible sidewalks as an idea. We could work through each one.
Well, with Cummings, I think we have to wait for the
Yeah,
bond.
let's wait for the bond for coming to see.
And then we can start looking at safe routes, possibly. It's not a Title I school, but maybe.
I think this one with Cummings, if we want to approach it, I mean, I think the next step there, in addition to waiting for the bond measure, is, I mean, I think I offered before to talk to Heidi at the ODOT Transportation Safety to see if we can, what step, if we can form a safe routes committee to analyze all the different the many-pronged problem at Cummings,
Yeah.
so that we could, so
And
that
luckily
whatever we
they've-
propose can,
Luckily,
that bigger picture.
Heidi's predecessor, well,
Yeah.
got to see it. Gary Obrey from ODOT got to see it, and they all said it was a disaster. And even the school district admitted it, or it was. That's why it's on the bond. And but there's some other things, and I think you're right on for that idea.
Do you want to pursue that?
Yes,
Okay,
I was,
so
I met Heidi last week, so I
So
need to
Pat,
set an
what-
appointment to.
Pat will
to meet
speak
with-
to Heidi at ODOT to form or get some ideas about safe routes to school at Cummings. Is that right? Did I say that right?
To get ideas about safe routes to school action plan committee.
And there might be some other monies that aren't safe routes to school, but just safety.
Right, there are mini grants that might help with that committee.
Let's take a look at another one. Kathy, you had one, a Wheatland Road study via SCATS down towards the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I'll just keep an eye on that, because that's something that's funded in the new transportation improvement
Wheatland
program for
Road?
the next couple of years. So I think that's just something to watch. If they have public meetings or something about it,
Right now.
I'll try to keep on top of that and bring reports back.
Was it,
And if they need input, maybe we can give some input.
okay?
I live on just off Wheatland. Just if you want to know what one of the problems is, when the school buses stop and they let, especially the middle school, and I used to teach middle school, so they're energetic crew when they get off, and there's areas there where there's it's erratic where there's no sidewalks. So all the new construction have nice sidewalks. And the major remodels have nice sidewalks, and then you get to a ditch, or an area where there's no sidewalks on one side of it. So there was no rhyme or reason to, I mean, you could see why they did it, but you really didn't know, there wasn't any logic to where we could have used the sidewalk on the other side of the street, but no.
So the
So
issue,
anyway, when the kids are walking in the street, well, they're not in the street, they're on the side of the road. Some of them are in the street occasionally. So it's a intermittent problem, so when they're in school, there's no problem. You don't see anybody walking along there until they disgorge 25 kids off the bus all at once.
okay, so the issue is the sidewalks are intermittent.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, but
That's going to become
that's that
part
problem.
of that study,
yeah.
will
right.
identify that too.
Depends how, and the farther out they go, the worse. The older areas don't have sidewalks.
Mhm.
And the churches don't have sidewalks. And I was gonna ask Mike, I'm assuming, we have a city policy on new construction requires they put in sidewalks?
From a planning commission standpoint.
They
it's
have
a-
to have,
yeah,
this.
it's a-
I just noticed that all the new construction has sidewalks. So what we're really talking about is the older areas.
Filling in.
And it hasn't been agreed upon, but that amenities clause we were talking about, where if you build something, you have to put a certain amount of money into an amenity.
Oh, the 1%?
Yeah, and
That's just, at this point in time, a talking point.
sure, yeah, right, but in the future, that might be something to fill in gaps.
The chamber had a meeting the other night. There was some really good discussions on that. You were there, weren't you?
No, I missed it.
Yeah. In the future. I clearly didn't hear it's stupid idea, whatever. It's just how do we do it?
Okay, we had some other ideas that were mentioned last month. Pat, you had one for the Scenic Bikeway Workshop to look at what other cities are doing to help their businesses. It's on the bottom of the page, the spreadsheet page.
That's really if somebody attends that active transportation summit, which
I
think
can't make
we
it.
announced, I forget what date it is,
The
but
13th,
of,
March.
oh, so were you going to go? No, I can't go.
I can't go.
But if we do have a representative there, they could go to those sessions.
Where is it located? Anybody
It's
know?
in Portland.
Well,
Where we can always bring
I avoid Portland.
When is it?
Scott Brickert.
March
and
13th?
there's a fee. I can't make it. I thought I was going to be able to make it, but
5 days.
got her.
well, our,
Oh, that's when they're working on my house. I can't make that.
But we can get Alex Phillips and Scott Bricker from Travel Oregon. They are more than willing, because this issue, they saw our minutes from a few months ago and said, oh, what do you mean by training? And they said they would be more than willing to do anything we asked to promote. And
That's Tuesday. Do we know what time?
All day.
All day?
it's 2 full days.
I don't know if anyone saw, but you might have heard, the Independence is having that boutique motel or hotel. And one of the things they're pushing the scenic bikeway support, so for people riding through. So,
That's the same one that goes through here.
yeah, well, I'm just
Lam-
saying,
yeah.
Keizer, we definitely want to be making it as appealing as much, for people to come and stay too.
Independence?
Yes.
That route goes
Does it go right
near,
down
and it doesn't think it
26?
goes across the bridge, right? But it goes close enough that somebody might want to stay over, right?
What they have planned is to change the route a little bit from West Salem and coming across the bike pedestrian bridge in West Salem. And with the new improved improvements on Union, making it easier to get over to Winter instead of kind of going through town from the south. So that's the proposal, and last I heard from Alex, all the proponent groups were all for it. And that would make it easier to come right into Keizer, and we have a couple hotels.
Well, 1 3/4.
Well, it's being built. It's
Okay, so there's possible rerouting of the Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway to come into Salem and Keizer?
It does already come
Goes
in.
through
Okay.
Keizer.
It's just remodifying the route and coming across the bike bridge and right onto Union, because they've done all that wonderful work on Union to make it more bike-friendly, and you can get across commercial.
Well,
Yeah.
that would be a
Right.
big decision for their group, I guess. I mean, from north to south, if they come down eventually the Maple and Winter,
Boulevard.
bike-friendly, boulevard down as far as Union crossover. I mean, you're skipping the state capitol grounds, but I think that's better to go over the new bridge and through Minto Park and out, avoid the
But with the signage that they're planning,
being part of River Road.
with the signage that's proposed and the signage that they are currently using, there, there's the Capitol building and.
Yeah, but they'd still be coming through Keizer, either on
Yeah,
Cherry.
that wouldn't affect
and-
that.
No, Cherry, that portion of the route through Keizer and out, no change.
But it is something, I don't know if it's something for this program, but it's been on the radar of this committee before, of how do we do maybe some better wayfinding signs along the scenic bikeway so that our touring cyclists know where the coffee shops and restaurants and banks and medical facilities and parks and everything is.
Yep, okay. Okay, well, we have lots of project ideas.
Okay?
If you see your name next to a project idea, that means the idea probably came from you. And so what I would like you to do is to try to expand that idea.
I'll work on the bike rack.
Write it up.
And write it up, or send it electronically so we can all read it. And then we'll consolidate it somehow. You can use, I'll send out this spreadsheet electronically, and then we can use it as a skeleton and then build on it. Okay. We can talk about a couple more, and then I want to talk about each member, what we've done during the last month. Joe, you suggested reducing speeds near schools to 20 miles per hour. They've done that in Portland.
Yeah, I think I was just talking about the fact they had done so in Portland. I haven't looked up as to how effective or if they're enforcing it or anything. I
Okay.
think it was pretty much all neighborhoods, not merely around schools. It was pretty universal.
Okay, all areas. Okay, so if you want to pursue that idea, I would want to know where you want that to happen, or just residential areas, 20 miles an hour on River Road. Okay, that one's not,
100 yards.
that one's not going to happen, right? Okay, so if you could further define that. Michael, you had an idea of create traffic calming devices in certain areas to slow traffic. Same thing, where do you want to see these traffic calming devices?
Well, my first thought would be around schools, around places where people are going to be shopping, or places where people will be going to frequently, and people who either choose not to or can't drive to them. And it's not just devices too. There's also, what we're doing, again, in our rules of the city, things that we could change. Even like with Public Works, when they choose to to repave a street and they tear it up, or putting new, like I know they're putting a lot of new pipes, not too far from here, put it in their rules that they're also gonna be doing some, sidewalk bulb outs and stuff like that. So it's not just devices that we put in isolated from anything else, but kind of a bigger picture thing.
Okay. Okay, so if we can further define those, please do, by next month. And then we'll try to figure out which project we want to pursue. We could pursue 2 of them. I would hope we could submit 2 valid projects for House Bill 2017 funding, possible funding. So if we develop 2 of them, have them ready, and that would be my goal, is to have at least 2 of them. Okay, so let's move on with the meeting. Let's have committee member reports. Joe, anything this month? You were at the Future of River Road.
I was there, I listened.
Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out what is meant by amenities. Is it just, someone was asking, do we just mean bench seats or something? Is that, what do we mean by amenities? I guess I'm not entirely clear, so.
Since the Planning Commission is the one that kind of started the idea, the amenities is everything from nice inlaid grass, curvature of the sidewalk where it's art, trees, ornamentals. Benches can be part of it, but not.
Bus stops? Would that be an amenity?
Yes, it can be considered an amenity.
Having seating and shelter at the bus stop
Done.
instead of just a post, maybe.
What about street lighting, or does that come under something else?
Lighting, no?
It could be. We were kind of vague on what amenities. We didn't define because this was just an idea, and things get defined later. But just instead of just, straight old sidewalk, no grass, no trees, no nothing.
So curved sidewalks or?
Well, you could have the regular straight, but amenities is kind of
Thing that makes it nicer to be
one of the
actually-
examples of the amenities that are going to be at the new movie theater is a mural. That's an amenity. They're going to put in some trees that are native. So it's kind of a wide open, so I can't really say benches, no. Well, yeah, benches could be. But it all depends on the piece of land, where it's located. Benches may be completely inappropriate. So,
That answer your question, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy, you were also at the Future River Road.
Right.
What else did you do this month?
Well, I commented too on back to the planning department on the River Road redo. And I think that's something that we should all kind of keep an eye on and speak up about as they go forward, because, not only we talked about safety being a big issue on South River Road, but, which I think it is. I think those speed limits should be lowered. That's our main street. That area could be fixed up. You could have little mini parks. Talk about amenities. Mini parks, change some of the parking lots to put some trees and some benches and some plantings in, and people would eat outdoors more. You have little outdoor eating spots. And then if you change the zoning so you could do 2 or 3 story buildings along there, and you get people living on River Road or renting more office space, that increases the value there considerably. And then you've got more money to do fix-ups on the streets and stuff. And you have more people just there who can go out and walk around, go to the restaurants and shop in the stores and stuff. So I think increasing the density on River Road would make a huge difference. Slow it down, make it more amenable to walkers and bikers, and make it a friendlier place. I think there's a lot of potential there on River Road. It shouldn't just be an expressway to get through Keizer to Salem. I mean, it has the potential of being a really nice little space, not little space, long stretched out space, but especially the south end of River Road.
Interest, huh?
Yeah, nodes of interest, yeah. I mean, make it pretty and attractive, and people will come there. So,
If I was,
I'm hoping we stay involved in this and, make your comments to the city.
following up on what you said, if any of you've gone down to the Salem Cinema and the Broadway, that section right along Broadway where they put the apartments in with the business, it reminded me of New York City, Brooklyn, because that's what you get is businesses all along the bottom and then 2 and 3 floors of apartments above it. It's very nice.
Really increases the value, too, for the city. I mean, you got a lot more income coming, tax income coming in or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. David, anything for this
Nope.
month?
Nope,
Okay.
it's wet.
Pat, you were on travel.
I was. I rode a bike around in Puerto Rico. From where I was living to into town and back out and so forth, so. Add that to my list of places where I've gone biking.
Okay. Did you note that, Debbie? She-
Do you want the rest of the list, or to email it to you later? The other-
Slideshow.
So, what's on my mind, I guess, is, trying to support Wayne and the rest of the committee with this House Bill 2017, the Safe Routes rulemaking, which has been kind of on our radar, and I guess the general rulemaking about it is progressing in ODOT also. I printed a couple of things off the website and was trying to look at the dates for that Safe Routes rulemaking in particular, and I'll have to find out what happened with the March 6th thing, but it's not showing very well on the website, but it does show a meeting coming April 3rd, and then May 9th, which is a public hearing, and then June 4th. But the first one is March 15th. If I have the opportunity, I will go and observe at the Oregon Transportation Commission meeting, because that rulemaking committee is going to be presenting their draft to the Transportation Commission on that day.
Is that a public hearing?
No, it's not a public hearing. I think it's them presenting the draft administrative rules and asking the commission to approve the release for public review and the comment period, which would be in May. So I guess one thing is to look at the draft, which I did print out, and I don't know if anybody else wants, if the committee wants me to send a link, or just like, I could probably go through and make my comments on this and then send it to others that are interested. I think I've expressed my concerns before of what we need to look at, and I haven't read through it in detail yet, but we want to look for things that make it a fair playing field for a community like ours to compete for these funds. So that's what I would mainly be looking at in here. Do we feel like it's all the money's going to go to the big guys, or do we have a chance? And
Maybe I would kind of like the link myself,
okay,
and then we can all share it, and then we can read through it.
right. Because I think one thing will be as looking at this and forming our own opinion about whether we think there's these administrative rules serve well, or whether we may want to make some comments when it comes out for the comment period on behalf of the city, and then how far ahead do we need to be able to make those comments? We'd have to go to the council to get approval for any comments to be made on behalf of the council or the mayor, right? So that's what we need to be thinking ahead, and I think that time, it's been out in the future a while, but I think it's approaching time to to do that. And I think that March 15th at that Transportation Commission meeting, if at least one of us can go to that, we'll get a flavor for how that's being presented to the Transportation Commission, and that may inform kind of how we respond as well. So I have a couple of different handouts that relate to that I can
Pat,
send the link.
do you know if the OTC meets at downtown or at TLC?
I'll have to look, see if that meeting is March 15th. Their agenda and everything is probably already posted now,
yeah,
but
they're
I don't know
meeting
whether it's
downtown.
in town. Usually,
They're meeting
it's meeting in
downtown
Salem?
this time,
Okay.
yeah.
It's a Thursday
Transportation
at this
building.
point, that's all I know.
Probably can't make it.
I might be attending anyway for the area commissions on transportation, so,
Yeah, so we can look in the agenda and see whether it's early
Yeah,
or
where it
late
is
in the
on the
day.
agenda, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're attending anyway for that?
yeah, but I think the ACE, the Commission on Transportation meeting is in the afternoon, and this is, I think, earlier in the morning.
Because I
I'll have
could,
to look at that.
if it's a Thursday, I
It's a
could go.
Thursday.
I don't want to
could
spend
go,
the whole
like,
day there.
After, I can't go early in the morning, but I could go later on in the day.
Okay, so Kathy, you want to go in the morning, and Pat, you want to go in the afternoon?
Well, I'll check
Maybe.
and see in the agenda when this item
Right,
is coming up,
Mhm.
when it's scheduled
Coordinate.
for.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
okay.
And I might be available also, or probably could be. Okay, Hirsch, you also attended the Future River Road.
Yeah,
Uh,
I made comments more on the safety specifically of the southern section of River Road, since that's the narrowest and where we've had the most accidents and
Is it?
most accidents, and we've had some deaths too. Little boy that went across, but it was on that section of River Road. So I was, I'm for amenities, but not over the top of safety. That's kind of was my point. Stuff that I've been involved, well, we're planning another community bike skills event with East Salem Neighborhood Association and the East Salem Schools. It's going to be, they haven't confirmed the date yet, but it'll be in May at Hallman Elementary. And that Hallman is the one right behind Stewart Auto on Portland Road. It's kind of, you can kind of see it's kind of a pinkish looking school. And last year we had it at Washington Elementary, and there was 800 people that showed up. So this is, a lot of the faith community is involved in promoting this, and so kind of in Salem leadership, along with the area principals and the area community liaison. So it's generally a pretty big thing, so we're working on that. I'm also on a committee made up of representatives from Lynn County, Albany Chamber, the three bike clubs in the Central Valley, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene, to promote cycling in the Central Valley area. This ties in with the Scenic Bikeway also, but to promote all the cycling that's available between Eugene and Salem throughout the year. So I'm on that committee, and we're just starting the work. We have another first really work meeting on the 21st of the month in Albany.
Okay.
Planning and working the Monster Cookie, April 29th. All the permits are finally done. We have a work meeting Monday night. So that's keeping me enough busy.
Michael, how was your month?
Well, I didn't, certainly wasn't as busy as Hirsch.
Well, I'm retired
That's
too.
true. I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
But I did see 2 articles recently. One actually was today that I was going to share with you folks. One was, there's a study that said that bicycling is not only good for our physical health, it's supposed to make us look younger. So, and I think I'm living proof. I'm 90 years old.
Awesome, dude.
Very good.
No, but I can forward the article to you folks if you want to see it. The other one was, you probably all have heard of tactical urbanism. If you haven't, I'll explain it. It's basically where local folks decide they see an issue with safety typically, or trying to make the place a little more livable, and so they'll do something. They might, on their own, paint in a crosswalk, or they might work with the city and put in some type of bike lane.
Separated bike lane.
Not even separated, it's basically you're starting with baby steps. And the thing that, I've seen it before, but I saw this little town called Snellville, Georgia, which never heard of it before. It's about 30 miles outside of Atlanta, and it's actually a little bit smaller than us, about 20,000 people. And they've actually incorporated into their planning the ability to let citizens propose projects of various degrees and implement them and basically do pilot projects. So I could share that too with you, and basically something that Keizer might want to look at, trying to engage the public and everyone knows problem areas around where they live, and have some type of small fund that even maybe something like the House Bill 2017 might put a little grant funding into that we could get, that would just make our streets just a little bit safer.
Okay, thank you, Michael. I also attended the Future of River Road, and I took notes, and I took 5 pages of notes. I wasn't the official note taker, but there were a lot of good ideas that came forward. Councilor Rowland and Laura were there. Kathy Clark, our mayor, was there. Kim Freeman was there. And so, and then there's probably 50, 60 people total. Lots of good ideas came out of that. Oh, and Bruce Anderson, he's counselor also. Okay, so that's what I did this month, and I put together this spreadsheet this afternoon, just in time.
Was that videotaped for people to watch?
They had a whiteboard, and an electronic whiteboard, I think, where they could record it, but I don't think it's videoed.
No, it was in one of the other rooms, so.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for your time. We're adjourning at 7:07.